welcome to today's World Mumbo Jumbo for the, it's virtually August now, so we are into August. Apologies for delays in videos in the last month or so, well, last month. I had a lot going on. Work's been busy, personal, family stuff is good, but there has been an incident going on, and during that, everyone's fine, everyone's aware, everything's in place, but it has taken up an awful lot of my time. And you know, got to look after the kidlings. So that's all good. I'll go into that in more detail later on, but you don't need to know. But I'm fine. Everyone's good. I hope all of you are well and fine and dandy. I have been playing a bunch of stuff. Stuff has been going on, and you've just not been party to it, so I apologise for that. We had the video the other day. We covered that, and there was some bit of expeditions, and there was some other stuff in there. We discussed, of course, me flipping the table during a game of Food Chain Magnate, which we've got through that now. We've got past. Well, we've moved on. We haven't played it again yet, but we've moved on. So there you go. That's all caught up with where we're at. The 2-camera setup has been aborted because actually son number one, bless him, bought me a camera that didn't have the external mic, didn't have an autofocus, and didn't do anything other than take photos, and I couldn't even sync the audio. So that also delayed the videos because I was trying to sync up 2 cameras and having to sync audio between 2 cameras and all that other shit. Just more work to do for doing this. So we're back to the 1-camera setup for the time being. If I can find an easy fix around the other situation, I will do, but it was a ball ache, so that's why we're doing this. Let's have a gander at what I've been playing. Played. So let's go back onto Expeditions before we get into the main meat of this, which I'm going to go into Weather Machine, but let's pause for a moment on Expeditions. So Expeditions, I gave you in my last video that I played one game of it. I really liked what it was doing. I enjoyed all the mechanisms, all the busyness of what it was doing. I loved that it has that tapestry feel, that sort of not quite all balanced, just a little bit cray-cray. I like it because a lot of Stonemaier stuff is locked down. It normally feels like it's very, everything's designed to the 9th degree, whereas this kind of feels like there's just a splash of random in there. So, second play, I think my enthusiasm dropped off a little bit, not a lot, but a bit. On the whole, I do enjoy the game. I enjoy the mechanisms. I enjoy the card play. I think once you're all playing it and all know it very well, it could move a lot faster. It's still slow going. We've played 4 and 5 players, 5 on the first, 4 on the second. The 5-player learning game took a good couple of hours. Not that I cared. I was enjoying what I was doing. And then the 4-player game, when our second play, that pared down a bit faster, in fact, to be honest, under maybe 2 hours. And I think probably you could squeeze that at 4 max down to about 1.5 hours if everyone was on their A game, possibly. But as I said, really like mechanisms of the cards. The point of the game is, it seems the strategy, hello, the monitors on Isaac's upstairs, this may be disrupted, is that, and his mum is with him. I've not just abandoned Isaac upstairs with some razor blades, just so we're clear. So anyway, so what was I saying? Yeah, there's a point in the game where you're using the cards, because they're multi-use cards, they have really powerful uses as constant being played out and putting your meeples on it to activate. But they also, as I say, the items and the missions and the meteorites, but the items specifically here I'm thinking about, is there's a certain point where you decide to stop using those cards to play and lock them in as either an item, as either a quest, or whatever. They give you some perks for doing that, especially the items give you ongoing, basically perks that run for the rest of the game. So converting them seems an early win, seems a good idea. But yeah, there is a tipping point, we have to decide, I'm converting my cards into actual things to get the stars down to complete the game. And it can happen rather like Scythe, actually, in a very quick succession. There's a couple of stars down, and then all of a sudden all the stars are down. And certainly the second game we played, Robbie was left way behind. I think he'd got 1 star out, and me and Ben were everything. So yeah, all of that. So yeah, I've called a little bit on it because I don't know what exactly, but it just feels like, okay, actually, there's a few bits I'm bumping up against where you feel it's a bit underbaked. The exploration side of it, it's called Expeditions, yet really the exploration side of it is you are just going out to a bit of the map and taking the token. There's no, other than uncovering that hex tile for the first time, there isn't no story element to that. There is no real nothing else. There's no reward other than this token, which you can trade in for a star if you collect enough of them. And a couple of times they can be used for other currency by using other cards and stuff. But ultimately, it feels a bit underwhelming. Yeah, it feels like you kind of. I would have liked something else, a little something else to do that. I do like the multi-use cards. As I said before, it's overproduced. Definitely, it's a little bit on the. It feels like if I could get this for about 50 quid, I'd be about happy with it. It's just at the moment with the buff versions of it, it just seems a little much for what it is. I do feel this one might be a bit of a Marmite. It might fall into the realms of Tapestry, where there's a bunch of people loving on it and then a lot of people not loving on it. And I don't know where this will fall on the Scythe fans, whether they're going to be engaged or not, because it is a different beast. I think it could be nice to have a bit more player interaction. Essentially what you can do is lock off places from other people and block them, and sometimes take cards and stuff, but there is minimal player interaction. It'd be nice to maybe have a little bit more going on between you. But you know, it's not a deal breaker by any means on that. But yeah, as an engine-y, builder-y card multi-use thing, it's a real good thing. It takes up a lot of space for what it is. And certainly there's going to be expansion down the road. Without shadow of a doubt, there's definitely going to be expansion. At least one for it, I would have thought. I'm going to check my notes in case there's anything else there. Oh yeah, the end game. So yeah, it still has the Scythe's sort of sudden abrupt halt of the end game, where you do have, like in Scythe, when the stars are getting put down and then suddenly everyone stars around you and the game ends. But yeah, I want to play again. I like it. I will sit and wait and see, because I think this one, as I say, could be a Marmite, and it might have a deal at some point down the road. And if I can get it on the deal at the sweet spot, then I'll have it. But at the moment, yeah, enjoying it, like it, it's digging it. Recommended if you want to fork out the money, but I wouldn't pay for the big shiny meta one, because that seems a bit expensive for what it is. Just saying. So the big one, the other game we played Weather Machine. Now, we've had 2 games of this now, sort of. We played one game the other week of a learning game, essentially. We played Expeditions and actually finished that fairly quickly. So we then set up Weather Machine in the intent of just trying to learn it. And we kind of nailed the base bits of kind of what we were doing with it. It's Vita Lasada, Evil Griffin. It's the most recent edition of what he brought out. He has done, obviously, I didn't need to say Gran Turismo. Or the Car Factory one, which has now escaped me, Kanban. And Vivios, which I've not played Vivios. This is like the wine one. Escape Plan, which I really enjoy. And on Mars, I want to say. They're all heavy. They're heavy end of Euros with him. They're all meaty, heavy Euros. This motherfucker is the grand heavyweight champion of heavyweight Euros. The theme, such as it is you are building a weather machine to stop bad weather happening, maybe. Sort of. To be fair, the theme, whatever it was going to get very quickly lost, because the mechanisms and the weight in this game means that it just bounces off. Really, you could anything. It's lip service. It's there, but really, to be honest with you, it's not coming through. You're just so weightily, heavily invested or dealing with the mental that theme is. But anyway, you're doing some stuff with weather. I keep getting Kate Bush vibes and stuff. I don't know why. But yeah, running around in storms and wind and weather and stuff. Sort of. Not sure. So that's that. So I'm not really going to try and drill down too much into it, because there's a lot going on. Just to understand how much is going on, there is a reference player guide. That's a fucking booklet that comes with the game, which you'll not be seeing the video running over. But yeah, there's a fucking booklet, which is the player guide, which runs you through the basics of it. The rule book, according to Ben, and I agree with him to a little bit, isn't the greatest. Considering the amount of minutiae that is going on in this game, it maybe isn't the greatest. Although we pieced it together. And the graphic design, Ian O'Toole to the graphic design, again, and normally these two are a wonderful pairing, and O'Toole's design is usually the chef's kiss on top of these games. This one is really a bit muddied. There's quite overabundance of design on the board. The actual kind of board stuff gets lost a little bit. in that there's a lot. It's a busy board, as we're seeing now. It's a busy board, and I think as we played through the second game of it, actually, that kind of dropped off. It was a bit easier to kind of get. I mean, again, the iconography isn't bang on. It all makes sense once you know what you're doing. You do kind of pick up on it. There's just a lot happening. In a nutshell, essentially, you are a scientist. You're going down in 3 main areas on the board. There's this area here on the left where you are putting mechs down, if you've built mechs, and cogs, which you get to gain these tiles, which you can essentially use. They go on your board and they've got a one-time flip opportunity. You can flip them and they give you a buff, like an extra mech or a use of another area on the board for free without paying resources. So you can either gain them by using a cog, or you can flip them by spending some other points to not pick them up but flip them, and then you get buffs of where they correspond battleship style on the board, and you get the use of that tile, but you don't take it. So there's a thing going on there. In the middle is the actual weather machine, where again you're putting mechs down and paying chemicals to pop them down. And once a line of these things is full up and the gun kind of generates as it goes across, you'll trigger this, it activates, you'll get points for doing that, you'll get your mech stuff. There's weather at the top, which you'll get a tile, which you'll get some points for that if you spend something else, and a buff, which may again be you do another thing or do something else. And then the third section of the board is an area which we totally misplayed on the play we got and worked out. Actually, we probably should have been doing massive amount more scoring with it. But again, you're locking mechs into this area, and this is to do with the weather that's been created by you doing the weather machine. And you can clear these tiles and get buffs, and they get increasingly harder to clear because the weather gets worse because the weathers you're doing in the weather machine. But essentially you're locking these mechs in, you won't get them back, rather like the first area won't get them back. But if you get it right, when you're running this thing, and you can run it with or without mechs on it, you can pay extra to do it, you'll get lots of points and stuff from doing that. We didn't do that nearly enough, if at all, because we misunderstood what we were doing. And I locked a load of mechs in there were never coming back, and then really didn't get anything out of it. So there's all that. In amongst all of that, there is the scientist guy whizzing around, which you trigger by you going to places. There's an area down the bottom of the board you can spend stuff to get more stuff, which is chemicals and mechs and other stuff to do things, and the income tracks happen certain times. Every area has 2 actions that you spend certain points to do. They're all different costings on different areas. So going here costs one thing but gains you the money of another area, or whatever it is, knowledge or whatever. In amongst all of that, when you're doing these 2 actions, and the second action is normally linked to something else bigger you're doing, which is to do with your player board, which is that thing with more shit going on it. On your player board, you're essentially trying to get these, you're doing science papers, and there's only a certain way of doing them, and you get 3 of these books on your area. Once you've got 3 of them, you can publish a paper. Once you publish a paper, then you can go to another area, and then you can start doing the big weather shit I said about earlier on the 3rd area. So you can do only certain stuff early doors. You have to then build this engine to do this other thing, to get these books down, to do the thing, to get the knowledge, to do the thing, to put the book out. It's an engine on an engine on an engine on an engine on an engine. Have you kept up? Okay, I am... As I say, lip service is being done here, and let's say the 3rd area. So the second game we played, the full game we played, I myself personally only in the last round of the game actually managed to publish a fucking paper, which you kind of need to do to score all the points to do stuff. Granted, I didn't play the most optimized player. That I missed tricks. There was confusion how you can blank off areas, because there is a finite amount of these books you can get, these paper bits. So at some point you have to trade them out with wilds, and the process to get the wilds to do that was quite involved. Early doors of the 2nd and 3rd round, Bob blocked me for doing a thing that would have given me the book, that would have given me a line to be able to publish a paper, and then I subsequently then spent most of the rest of the game trying to get my head around the rules of how I get one of these wilds, and I did eventually work it out, but it just seemed to take me most of the game to do it. I think probably it could have been easier. Anyway, coffee. The end result of all of that is essentially, Weather Machine is a gymnasium, a mental gymnasium. All this fucking thing is there to do is to take your brain power, potentially your willpower, for your mental capabilities, and you're going to stick it into this thing, and it's going to convert that into some points. That's what's going to happen. You're going to sit for 3 hours, and it's going to convert your brain into points. And then you're going to say, I scored 5, and Ben's going to say I've scored 6 or whatever, and that's it. You're just going to be going through these massive jumps and loops and boom. Ultimately, it's very heavy. As I said, by the end of our second playthrough, there was an whole area of the board we hadn't really interacted with. Everyone was mentally fucking drained. But ultimately, it just seemed a massive amount of work, of thinking, to ultimately just score the points. I know that's what all games are, but this one just seems like an unnecessary level of just all you're going to do is sit and think really fucking hard about something for like 2 hours for no ultimate kind of feel you've gone on a journey. I guess that's what I'm saying, is the Weather Machine storyline. It doesn't really do it. It's not that you don't feel like a sense you've accomplished anything other than some points. Even Escape Plan, and I really enjoy actually Escape Plan of all of his stuff. It's lighter certainly than this stuff. There was a story, you feel like you're going through, you're doing something. This feels just way over the heavy level of what is nice, comforty feeling for me. Terra Mystica, I guess that's probably, and I would say that's a heavy Euro. That's kind of the peak, I think, of where I want to go. We pull over the edge of that, and my enjoyment factor kind of goes. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy. I was just spent the entire evening just like, whoa, whoa, and everyone else is doing the same, and there was a lot going on. Ben himself, he loves a fucking heavy Euro. He was having rental spasms at good points. I mean, the end result, we finished the game. We had a kind of autopsy of it between ourselves. General feeling of what I've said. And Ben, I think, is even like, oh, fuck that shit. And I think he's probably going to sell it, he said. Part of me now running through stuff, I would like to try it again. I think now knowing what I think we know. However, I think ultimately, even knowing what you're doing, just to understand that puzzle more than anything else, because that's what you're doing. It's kind of, you're just trying to wrap your head around this puzzle. Is it ultimately satisfying? No. Anyway, so there you go, Weather Machine. I mean, if you're in the market for those heavy users, I'm trying to struggle my brain. There was the Tabanusi Traders is from Board and Dice, is something similar to what I played. I don't think it's anywhere near the heaviness of this, but something else which just had so many hoops to leap through and stuff, and theme kind of just so much on a meta 5D chess level thinking to do that it just doesn't satisfy. And this is the same. Ultimately, it's just too heavy for me to really be satisfied, enjoy doing it. It's too much work for ultimately no payoff. So there you go. That's Weather Machine for them. Not for me, really. I fascinatingly would maybe like to give it another go just to kind of see if I can understand all it's doing. But ultimately, I'm sure there's people this is for. People who enjoy these heavier stuff. Not for me. So there you go, that's that. So what else we played? We played a bunch more Frosthaven. We've been flipping out now, basically doing Frosthaven for a few weeks, then flip and do some other stuff just to kind of break it up. Because I'll be honest with you, I've kind of get burnt out on it, to be honest. And I think the issue is that I like Gloomhaven, I enjoy the card play and what you're doing and the leveling up. And all the accoutrements of it. However, with the outpost stage and all the extra bits they bolted on, whilst that adds more meat and more interest and more good stuff to it, that adds a bit more time to the game, so you tend to be only really often getting like one mission in a night. The bigger problem is, even using the app, thank fuck we've got the app to take off a lot of the work of the bookkeeping, it's still, for me personally, as I kind of GM in the game as well as doing my card play, because I'm doing all the map tiles and all the other organisation, all that, it's exhausting. There's been a few games we've had of it where they've just been so much shit going on it that I'm just mentally fucking exhausted by the end of it, and it becomes work rather than play is the feeling I've been getting with Frosthaven of late. I think we need to open some more buildings. I think we need to jump some prosperity levels, and we're now at the point of Tony's characters coming up to retirement. Jamie's has, Robbie's just has, and I think the retirement almost is meat for the grinder to kind of keep the game rolling and interesting. I think because you're going to open up more stuff, put more buildings down. That seems to be the thing, and I think we kind of stuttered a bit on that. Yeah, I say I'm enjoying it again. I still enjoy it. I still think it's a cracking game. But yeah, I'm a little bit fatigued by it, I think, which I think is why it'd be good to be doing the play a few and then drop in and drop out. So and maybe once I retire my character, because I've been playing it since we've started, I feel a little bit near the end of finished leveling that character, and I kind of feel like it'd be nice to see something else. There's a lot of stuff I know we still yet to dig into in this game. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and I enjoy. Even talking about it, I kind of run through going, I do get excited about it, and I do like the stuff, and I know there's a lot of stuff we've yet to kind of see. So all of that is like, it's also running all and doing the work has been like, this is hard work. I don't feel like I've just exhausted by the end of it. But yeah, there's Frosthaven. That's it. Stuff we've got coming up. We still haven't played Kingmaker. I haven't even looked at the rules on that one. That's another fucking one. And then I need to look at Books of Time, Board and Dice, that picked up at the UK Expo. I haven't played it yet. I haven't had a chance to really run through the rules. So I want to do that, and I need to review that. I've got a few ideas for a few other little short review stuff doing. And that's it. Let's do some news. I've kind of already, that's a bit of news, but let's do some news. News. Well, news. There's not a lot of news. Although I've just flicking on Board Game Geek, I saw there's Age of Innovation. Actually, there's a lot of innovation coming up. Age of Innovation, which was a Kickstarter or game plan. I missed this. Has passed me by, and I must admit I've quite have a lot of Kickstarters and stuff. But it's essentially re-implements Terra Mystica 3.0, which perked me up because I do love Terra Mystica. And this one looks like it's a kind of it's like a Terra Mystica Plus. So it's one I'm going to look at because I do like Terra Mystica. I know they did Gaia Complex, and I never played that, but that was a lot of people liked that. But this looks like it's maybe the nice sort of capture of innovating what it did and some buffs on top. So yeah, I'm gonna look more detail at that one. But if anyone's seen that or backed it or know anything about it, I'd be interested to know, because I do quite like what Terra Mystica did. Especially, it was one of the first games to do the mechanism of having the player board with stuff on it that you were removing by doing stuff, building your engine, uncovering more stuff. Subsequently, borrowed for Scythe and probably some other games. That uncovering, it was the first time I'd encountered that mechanism of removing stuff off your player board to get rewards for doing it, and I really like that gameplay. So yeah, I'd be interested to see if it still uses that and it's in there and what's going on. So yeah, cool. Caught me by surprise on that. The other one is Innovation. There's a big box version of Innovation coming up now. It's cultured. Guy did Glory to Rome. Poor Glory to Rome. One day we wish, but it's never going to happen. He's a lover of the multi-use cards and stuff. Innovation's one that does exactly that. It's sort of like a Glory to Rome-ish feel of some of what you're doing, I believe. I've never played Innovation, but it's one I've always looked at from afar. And the issue I've kind of held off on it is that I hear really it plays best at 2 players maybe, and we'd be playing at 4, and 4's apparently carnage. Like this new version allegedly does something to balance that out. So I don't know. I love a multi-use card play game. I like something like that, and Rezakana is one we come back to, which I really enjoy Rezakana. And in fact, I didn't mention it in the play games, but we've been really dipping back into that recently, playing a lot of Rezakana post Frosthaven games and that. And I just fucking love that mix of how it does stuff. It's a fucking cracking game. Tom Lehman. Race to the Galaxy he did as well is another good one. Again though, it's kind of, that one feels like it suffers from the higher player counts. I haven't played it for a long time, though I'm tempted to pick it up, maybe. But yeah, maybe I don't need it. I've got Rezakana. Rezakana's fucking brilliant. If you've not got Rezakana, it's a really great this kind of engine building, kind of semi-deck building, all good stuff going on in there. There's a couple of expansions which I highly recommend, all of them, and I'm going to do a mini capsule review on it. I think I will do one because it's just such a good game that comes back again and again. Anyway, news-wise, that's kind of it. There's Mordred that Cool Mini or Not put on, which a lot of people were buzzing about at one certain point in time. And then, being a cool mini game, then that turned sour pretty quickly. I looked at it, and it's got A.J. Smith art, which looks gorgeous. It looks a little bit like it's probably doing a bit of a Blood Ragey sort of thing, but without Lang's design on it. So that kind of makes me go, I'm done, to be fair, with Cool Mini and their backers, predominantly for the reasons that are about to come up. Number one, the postage on this thing is fucking ridiculous. They've got a UK hub, and I know they're distributed. Games Quest, I think, is the guys who do it. They're based not far away from me, actually. How that they can charge, not Games Quest, I'm having a pop app, I'm having a pop of Cool Mini, how they can charge this big chunk for this UK hub shipping when it just seems excessive when we know how that's working. Anyway, I've long had issues with that, and Cool Mini's basically robbing of you for their postage packing has always been a thing. But they did a sneaky on this, apparently. They obviously added stretch goals on the game, which feel a little bit, actually, more optional buy-ins, but Kickstarter exclusive optional buy-ins, which were significant big chunks of the game. The whiff of it is this were stretch goals that didn't or weren't going to get hit, so they packaged them as buy-ins that buffed the value of the thing. But essentially it was a shit ton of exclusive content locked behind a paywall that you had to fork over $200 or something up front to get. Shocker! And people were like, I'm not willing to do that. Well, no, I don't blame you. I've been around the houses on Cool Mini, and they're not the only one. We know of Mythic, and we know of these other fuckers. We need to go back and have a look at what's gone on with Mythic and Quackalope, because be honest, since those videos, it's kind of dropped off my radar. So I might go back and have a dabble. I think everything kind of simmered down. With the clock is ticking, isn't it, on Mythic? So we'll wait out to October, I think. We're supposed to be seeing the game. Is it October? It can't be October this year. That must be insane if they said that. I can't even remember. But if it is, then, well, that's going to be a party. Popcorn on the standby. I've distracted myself from what I was talking about anyway. Yeah, Cool Mini or not. So yeah, and Mordred and whatever. I mean, I'm done with them. I won't, but Cool Mini, I love some of their early designs. I think Godfather is fantastic. Blood Rage is a cracking game. I really enjoyed Arcadia Quest we played that a lot. They have put out some good stuff. I really want to go back to Ankh, actually, because I've not played that enough. But I can't get past the fear, the FOMO, and the price of this stuff. That's the problem. I personally am now thoroughly in the probably retail camp, unless they do an IP that's absolutely, I can't resist. I've done some good stuff recently, and I've resisted. It'd have to be an absolutely fucking cracking IP, and really worth it. And I just don't see it happening, personally. I just can't. I can't. It's just silly money. Anyway, there's that. Other than that, I personally, stuff and things, because there's not much news. I know the Fight and Fantasy Adventures thing came out. I think that's finished. It didn't seem to be doing all that well. But again, that's going to be retail for me. I think that's it. There's nothing else I can think of. Gen Con's coming up, or happening. But I mean, that seems a bit. Gen Con seems to no longer really have the buzz. You used to look forward to Gen Con and Fantasy Flight outlaying what they had planned to come up, and now that's never now a thing, really. I don't think. It's a shame, because everyone used to be the in-flight report on Fantasy Flight games was always, personally, when you got to Gen Con time, was top of my radar of like, oh, what are they doing for the rest of the year? And now it's just no. I don't know if there's anything else coming out. There's nothing that's leapt up at me, so we'll see. So that's happened, or maybe happened, or happening. So yeah, not much of the world of the board game news. Personally, yeah, me, I've been digging into a bit of Diablo, because son number 2 bought me that for Father's Day. I must admit, I've been distracted a bit by Diablo. It's entertaining. And distracting me. Movies and TV and stuff. Been lots of stuff. Watched Renfield. That was really fun. It was good fun. Renfield was really good fun. Stupid. Nicolas Cage's Dracula, fucking brilliant. I need to watch it again, actually, just to enjoy it. I think it was not the sum of its parts, but it was entertaining. It's directed by Chris Miller, who did the Lego Movie and stuff. So I expected maybe a bit more than we got, but it was good. It was entertaining. It just felt a little bit lacking in some places, but I will certainly revisit. Other than that, I've been watching a lot of trashy shit with the boys and trying to go, you should watch some Frank Hindenlotter. So we're going to go on a Frank Hindenlotter journey together, Brain Damage and Frankenhooker and Basket Case. Going to do that at some point. Game of Thrones, son number 2, George, had never seen Game of Thrones, or had seen the first 4 episodes. So we've actually, as a family group, have settled down, and we're now watching Game of Thrones, which has been interesting, including some awkward moments of sat there going, oh, this is a bit much. There's episode 6 or 5 or something in season 1 is Peter Baelish discussing a woman's arsehole for about 10 minutes. Well, there's this softcore porn scene happening in front of you, which is amusing. I sit there smiling like a loon while my children sit there, obviously clearly uncomfortable with what is going on. But that's been fun to watch, and it's nice to revisit that. I do like Game of Thrones. I personally, for the record, never had really an issue with the ending, to be fair. I think the last season was unfairly maligned to a certain degree. Yes, I will agree, there was some story skippings going on towards the end, and it lost some of its quality, and it was kind of leaping around narratively very quickly and all that. Yes, however, it was gorgeous, and it looked a fucking $1 billion, which is kind of what they spent on it, and there was no, yeah, they didn't put any punches on that. So I'm really looking forward to going back on that journey again, to be honest with you. And season one, it's solid. Season one is solid. There's a bit you can see where the budget wasn't there, but I'm really looking forward to going on the Games of Thrones journey, because I know what's coming, and I know George doesn't know what's coming. So it'd be fascinating to see how he interacts with the story as it progresses. And it's a quality bang-on show. It's fantastic. As I say, personally, I know that last season got some shit. It's interesting to watch it through again, even though I know that it's all there to see what's going to happen. But yes. Anyway, so that as a distraction. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. I've been watching a bunch of shit, but it's gone now. Whatever it was, but Renfield was very good, and there was something else. Oh, Evil Dead Rise. God, Evil Dead Rise. Yeah, really enjoyed Evil Dead Rise. As a different beast. It looked gorgeous for the money. You know, it looked big budget. I know it's not in the scheme of things, but as another Evil Dead, and the Freddy Alvarez remake of Evil Dead. I initially was a bit cool on it and watched it again subsequently, and actually it grew on me, and it's gruesome and it's full on, but it kind of does get some of the Evil Dead vibes in there. This takes them to the city. It's really, on the whole, pretty good run of actors in there, actually. The actresses are fantastic in both roles of the sisters, and it's a cracking kind of roller coastery ride. Brutal. It's an ode to Aliens. There's some bits of dialogue from Aliens, and there's bits of music that sound a bit alien-y. Lee Cronin, the director, clearly a big Aliens fan, because it's vibing on some of that. It delivers on the gore stakes. It actually gets pretty fucking nasty, and doesn't pull any punches, actually, to be fair, when it kills off some characters. And on the whole, I think it was pretty fucking good. Yeah, it's a little slow going, but then I think that works because it does character beats and building, so that when it does start paying that off, actually you've rounded off quite a few characters, so you actually feel a little stakes of when they're coming to sticky ends or potentially sticky ends. But yeah, Evil Dead Rise looked gorgeous. It's good. It's a really good jumping off point again for another Evil Dead film. It was 5 Evil Dead films we've had over the last 40 odd years. So I mean, it's hardly a cooking franchise. But they've inferred, I think Lee Cronin, the director of that, has inferred that he has an idea for a trilogy. And I'm on board if they're going to do some stuff, because it's kind of cool. Because this still falls within the world of Evil Dead. Ash can be out there in this thing. It's not saying they don't exist. It's all it's chronologically sat in there, so it's all, everything else still exists in this world as well as this, and I kind of think that's cool. It's a crazy fucking wacky world, and brutal, and it's pretty good. So yeah, Evil Dead Rise, recommended if you're a fan of Evil Dead movies and general horror, extreme mayhem and violence. Then that's that. We're getting some good horror at the moment. Which reminds me, I'm not even going to mention it because I haven't got the time to fucking do it, but I have a side project that I'm thinking about. Let's be honest. I need to stick on the core project. We're barely doing that. What I have intensive plans of try and get some more videos out more regularly. I want to do a couple of mini reviews. I want to do one on Rezakana because I like it. I want to do one on After Us, which because again it's a simple sort of thing. So I've got that buzzing around. We need to look at Books of Time. I need to read and get Gary Kingmaker at some point. Don't know when the fuck that's going to happen. And other stuff. Tony, I think, has got a pile of stuff as well that we need to play. So there you go. That is us. That's me. I will try and get into a bit more of a regular schedule of stuff. Apologies. It's been shit going on. It has been shit going on, but we're getting through it. We're in a better place. That's what I'll say. Stuff. Hope you all I hope you're all fine. And I'll be back very soon, I hope, with some more of this shit. Yay for you, lucky you. And maybe there'll be another drama and I can do some videos on that. Who knows? I don't fucking know. Those like, share and subscribe. Those of you who have joined, fine. I'm sorry about the delay. But you've been waiting for this. See you soon. Bye-bye. Ta-ta.